this. So in yesterday's class, we discussed about the basic introduction of what is electric current. Then we saw a concept called as drift velocity. Then we tried to derive the mathematical expression for drift velocity. Post which, what did we do? We found the value of the current in terms of the drift velocity, right? So these are all the concepts that we saw. And we saw two more new terms. What were they? One is mobility, and the second is called as the current density, right? I think that was the last concept that we saw yesterday, right? Current density, right? So we are going to start with current density. Write down the definition for it. Okay. So write down the definition for it. It is like this. Current density is defined at a point. Okay. Current density is actually defined at a point, and basically it is defined like this. It is the quantity of charge passing per unit time. What do you mean by quantity of charge passing per unit time? It is nothing but electric current. Quantity of charge passing per unit time through a unit area. That is, the amount of current flowing per unit area is what they are calling it as current density. Here, an important point to be noted is current density's direction is always taken perpendicular to the direction of flow of the charge at that point. That is, if you take this as a conductor, if the charge is flowing in this direction, the current density will be in the direction perpendicular to it. Okay, so from this, an important conclusion that we can draw is current density is basically defined as a vector quantity. Okay, so current density is a vector quantity, and obviously its unit is going to be ampere per meter square. Current is measured in ampere and area is measured in meter square. Okay, so this is all about the basic definition of current density. Okay, so proceeding to the next important concept, that is, first I will show you the variations that are going to take place. Okay, till now, what are all the formulas that we saw? Vd. So what is Vd? E into capital E divided by m into tau, where Vd is the drift velocity, small e is the charge, capital E is the electric field, m is mass, and tau is the relaxation time. And we know that I is equal to NEA into V into D. This was the last derivation that we saw yesterday. Okay. Now we can think of what is going to happen if I take this Vd and substitute it here. Okay, let's see. So I is equal to small n. See, you don't write capital N, okay, small n. I told the difference yesterday itself. Small n is used for the number density. NEA into, what is the value of Vd? It is small e into capital E divided by m into tau. Okay. Now I am going to make some rearrangements in the equation. NEA tau, sorry, E into E is going to be E square. NE square A into tau divided by m into capital E. So I is equal to something like this into E. Okay. Now, when I have a conductor, for this drift velocity to be attained, what are we supposed to do? You need to connect the ends of a conductor across a potential source. When you do that, you are going to get the electric field, right? So if I take the length of this conductor as L, and the potential difference across the ends of the conductor obviously is going to be uniform because it's a DC source, can I write E is equal to V divided by L? Ignoring the magnitude, because ignoring the minus sign, because the minus sign says the electric field is from higher to lower potential. We already know this. I've already put the direction. So I'm writing it as E is equal to V by L, since electric field is equal to potential gradient. Gradient is nothing but slope. I've already told this to you guys. So if I take this as the first equation, if I take this as the second equation, using 2 in 1, what are we going to get? We will get I is equal to NE square A into tau, the whole divided by m into, in the place of E, can I write it as V divided by L? Now observe guys, is it not NE square A into tau divided by ML into V is what is I? Guys, are you able to understand? I did nothing. I started with the definition of drift velocity, the mathematical definition of drift velocity, and the mathematical definition. Here I say mathematical definition is the equation. So mathematical equation of current, I applied the drift velocity in the place of Vd in the equation of current, and I manipulated it and wrote all the values multiplied with E, and in the place of E I wrote it as V by L. Okay. Now if I rearrange this equation, V will be equal to how much? M into L divided by N E square A into tau, the whole multiplied with I. Accepted, guys? This is a very important expression. So what this mathematical equation has to tell us is, if I say V is the potential difference, I is the current, then the statement for Ohm's law comes from this expression. Then what I can say is R is equal to M into L divided by N E square A into tau. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is, this expression, whatever we did till now, is the derivation of Ohm's law. So the heading of this topic is derivation of Ohm's law. Sharia. So R is equal to ML divided by N E square A into tau. So what I can do is, I can write it like this: M divided by N E square tau into L divided by A. Okay, both mean the same. I collected M by N E square tau, and L by A I wrote it separately. So from your 10th standard knowledge, you already know R is equal to rho into L divided by A. Now, doing an analysis, tell me, what does this expression mean?
To NE square tau.
Rho, which is equal to M divided by N E square tau. What does rho stand for, guys?
Resistivity.
Resistivity. You have an experiment also using a device called as meter bridge, which we'll be seeing in the subsequent topics. Using those devices, you'll be finding the resistivity of a conductor. Okay.
Sir, once can you scroll up, sir?
Till which line? R is resistance.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Is this enough, or you want me to go up?
A bit more up, sir.
Little bit up. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the first step.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So R here stands for resistance, and rho stands for resistivity. What is R and R naught? R naught generally means resistance at initial point. I didn't use R naught anywhere. So the question I got is, R and R naught are same? No. Rho, no. R is resistance, rho is resistivity.
Sir, can you say the difference between resistance and resistivity, sir, once?
Sorry, resistance of?
Sir, can you say the difference between resistance and resistivity?
Tell you.
Okay, sir.
So, you would have studied Ohm's law in your lower grade, V is equal to IR. Right? Okay, let me first finish this. So, can someone state Ohm's law instead of telling me the mathematical expression? Can you state it? So, how does the expression, how does the statement go?
At a constant temperature, the potential is directly proportional to the current flowing.
If you don't use the word constant temperature, is that statement valid?
No, sir.
Why?
Resistance can change with temperature.
Why do you think the resistance will change? You have a mathematical expression in front of you. What do you think is going to change with respect to resistance when the temperature is changed?
So the materials property.
So what property of material?
Length
Property
and area.
Perfect. So last year you would have learned this, right? In thermal properties of matter, you would have learned something like this. If I take a metal, which is a solid, which is of length L, initially maintained a temperature T. Then, if I supply an additional temperature delta T, what will happen to the length? The length will also become L plus delta L. That is, there will be an increase in value of delta L in the length. Similar is going to be the case of area for a two-dimensional shape. When that is going to happen, look at the mathematical expression. It is m divided by n e square tau into L divided by A. So L will change, area will also change, as a result of which resistance will change. But here comes an important question. You told at constant temperature, potential difference is directly proportional to current. So you wrote V is equal to IR, where R is introduced as a constant of proportionality. Before we know what is resistance, R is called as constant of proportionality. So the name itself says it should be a constant. Means I am able to say that resistance is temperature dependent, and that is the reason why we mentioned about temperature in the beginning. Now comes an important question. But resistance in terms of length and area can also be written as rho into L divided by A, where rho is what? It is the resistivity of material. Correct? It is the resistivity of a material. Correct? So how did this derivation come? It was observed that the resistance is directly proportional to length and the resistance is inversely proportional to area. When you combine both, you write it as R is directly proportional to L divided by A. So here, resistivity is introduced as a constant of proportionality. But here comes an important question. Is resistivity a temperature dependent value? Look at this expression. Once I complete this, then I'll explain. Then you yourself will be able to understand what is the difference between resistance and resistivity. Guys, are you with me? Did you understand what is the question I asked? When I asked, sorry?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, repeating it. Listen. When I asked you people about the resistance, you people told resistance is dependent on temperature because the physical parameters like the length and the area can change with respect to temperature. Accepted. But if I try to write resistance in terms of resistivity, I am able to observe an expression R is equal to rho into L by A, where rho is introduced as a constant of proportionality. Correct? So here also I am using a constant of proportionality. I am using the word constant. So when is it going to be constant is the question. Is resistivity a temperature dependent variable?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
How many of you are saying yes? Who told yes?
I think it is yes, sir, but I don't
Yes,
know.
sir.
I've read it is temperature dependent,
Right.
but I don't know the reasons.
It's dependent. It is dependent. Because I wanted you to keenly observe the expression. Rho is equal to m divided by n e square tau. Guys, listen, I'm not teaching you physics, I'm only teaching you how to think. Okay, because these are all the keen observations you people need to do. Something new might come up tomorrow in the exam, at the time you should not blink. Okay, if an expression like this is given to you, you're seeing it for the first time, okay, accepted. Now, you have to think, you have to start thinking. I put a question, is it dependent on temperature? If it has to be dependent on temperature, look at the mathematical equation. What does m stand for? It is mass of the electron. N stands for the number density. Number density in the sense, the number of electrons present per unit volume. You cannot change that. It's going to be a constant. Right? Because because when you try to increase the temperature, the area and length will be increasing in such a way that the volume will try to maintain its constants. Okay, so N is going to be constant. What about E?
E is also
The
constant.
charge of electrons and
The charge of an electron, it is also a constant parameter. Then what about this tau? This is where we need to think of. This is what we need to think. So it is relaxation time. Okay, relaxation time is a technical name given to it. But what does it signify? What is it trying to tell us? What is the definition trying to tell us? It told the amount of time a particular electron has before it undergoes how many collisions? 2
successive collisions.
Now let's think of it logically from the kinetic theory of the particles. If I give charge to a particular particle, is its kinetic energy going to increase or decrease? If I heat a
Increase.
material, sorry,
Increase.
it is increasing. Obviously, you can take the example of water boiling. As the temperature increases, you can see that the water at the surface starts vibrating with a greater phase, with a greater speed. Hence, their kinetic energy increases. So think of the same water example. If the kinetic energy is going to increase, I have a water particle on the surface, I have another water particle here, this is also vibrating, this is also vibrating. So the time that is existing between them to collide successively, is it going to increase or decrease?
Decrease.
It is going to decrease. I'm giving very less time for them to relax. When can I say something is relaxed? When something is going to be at rest, when I increase the velocity of both the particles relatively, obviously I'm decreasing the relaxation time. Since the relaxation time is decreasing, what do you think will happen to the resistivity of the material? See, this resistivity is only for a conductor. Please have this in mind. What is happening to the resistivity of this conductor? Relaxation time decreases, resistivity
Increases.
are you able to understand? So from this we will have a mathematical expression.
Yes,
What are the stages that the particle is undergoing? First thing, by temperature, by giving temperature, what are you increasing? You're increasing the kinetic energy. When you are increasing you're increasing the kinetic energy. When kinetic energy is increasing, time between successive collisions is decreasing, due to which I can confidently say that relaxation time is decreasing. From this I can say resistance increases and resistivity also increases. Why I told resistance increases is because of this parameter only, because of tau. Okay, and this is going to happen only for materials called as conductors, and on an atomic level we have already defined that conductors are nothing but metals, right? So all this resistance increasing and resistivity increasing is only going to happen for conductors. The reason I'm stressing on this point is you will be learning something called as semiconductors also. If in any of your schools they have started solid state in chemistry, you will understand what is a semiconductor. Okay. So semiconductors are basically devices which are used in electronics, like your mobile phones, the laptops, everything. Those are all the devices. For semiconductors, what will happen is resistance will decrease with temperature. Resistance will decrease with increase in temperature. Whereas for a conductor, resistance will increase with increase in temperature. Please make a clear note of this point, or else you will get confused.
So could you repeat the point?
I'll tell you. So the question that I got is, so relaxation time is inversely proportional to the resistance and resistors. Yes, it is. It is only for conductors. Somebody asked me, what is it? What is it you wanted me to repeat? Somebody
You
asked
told
me.
to know.
Yeah. I asked you to make a note that resistance is directly proportional to temperature only for conductors. Because there are three kinds of devices that we will be learning. One is conductor, one is insulator, and the last chapter that we are going to see is semiconductors. At that time, what will happen is everything will be a reverse theory. That is why I'm stressing here. For a conductor, please underline the word conductor. Conductor means metals. For a conductor, resistance is directly proportional to temperature, and resistivity is also directly proportional to temperature. Okay. Now, somebody asked me, sir, can you tell me the difference between resistance and resistivity? Okay, it's a very simple thing. Okay, listen to this carefully. Listen to this. Okay, there is nothing you need to write. If I take this pen, okay, if I take this pen, this has a particular length and a cross-sectional area associated with it. If I call this pen as a conductor, okay, if I call this pen as a conductor, every conductor will exhibit a property called as resistance. So what is the basic meaning of resistance? Something is getting opposed. Okay, so this material can say it is having some resistance if it is trying to oppose the flow of charges within it. If it is trying to oppose the flow of charges within this. Okay, so now you can ask me a question. So why can't I call it as resistivity? See, resistance and resistivity both speak about opposition only, but the minute difference that you need to keep in mind is...
Sir, I'm not able to hear you, sir.
None of you? Is none of you able to hear
You're
me?
audible.
So for me, it's fine, sir.
You're audible, sir.
Check once more. Can you check it once? One sec. Okay. I repeat it. Resistance and resistivity both are the property of the conductor to oppose the flow of charges. But why two terms? Why can't I use one term itself? It is very simple, because resistance along with the relaxation time depends on the dimensions of that particular material. Whereas resistivity is constant for a given material. Example, if I take a copper wire, the copper wire of 1 meter and copper wire of 2 meter or copper wire of 100 meter will have the same resistivity. It is not dependent on the physical quantities like length or area. You take 1 meter square, 2 meter square, any thickness, its resistivity is same, because resistivity is dependent only on the nature of the material. Whereas resistance depends on the nature of the material. That is the reason why R is equal to rho L by NO. Rho stands for resistivity. It is nature of the material. Resistance depends on the nature of the material, the length of the conductor, and the area of cross section that you take into consideration. And that is the reason why for the same word opposition, there are two different terms that are introduced. It is only for calculation purpose for you to understand. Guys, am I clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is all about the important context term. So these are all the initial derivations that we are going to see. Mostly if you see now, as we progress, some of the topics from your 10th standard will come again. Okay, now I'm moving on to the next concept. So one important observation that we made from the expression of derivation of Ohm's law is resistance and resistivity are temperature dependent. If so, if they are temperature dependent quantities, how can they be related, or how can you what is going to be the mathematical equation for you to calculate the new resistance as temperature changes? Write down the heading as resistance as a temperature. Okay, I'll write it like this. Resistance as a function. Okay, resistance as a function of temperature. Here, what I mean by function is, how is resistance dependent on temperature? Okay, derivation is not needed. You can just go with this. If I say Ri is the initial resistance at temperature Ti, generally I stands for initial, and Rf is the final resistance at temperature Tf. Okay, if delta T is nothing but T final minus T initial, listen to this carefully. If delta T is nothing but T final minus T initial, which is called as the temperature difference. Okay. Then R final can be written as R initial multiplied with 1 plus alpha into delta T. If you have learned thermal properties of matter last year, you can say that this expression is something similar to what? This is something similar to an expression which you have learned last year. The change in length of a conductor as temperature increases. L final is equal to L initial into 1 plus alpha into delta T. Okay, where this alpha is called as the coefficient, the temperature coefficient of resistance. There is okay. Coefficient. Okay. It's called as the temperature coefficient of resistance. Okay. Similarly, rho final is equal to rho initial into 1 plus alpha into delta T. There is another important expression for you to make a note of. Guys, I hope you have written it. Yes? So what is going to be the SI unit of alpha? Before we see the SI unit of alpha, let's define it. So how can I write alpha as? Alpha is equal to, if I rearrange the equation, if you want you can write it. By multiplying Ri with both the parameters, you can write Rf minus Ri divided by Ri into delta T. So Rf minus Ri, now what is it? Difference in resistances divided by initial resistance into change in temperature. So Rf minus Ra is nothing but instead of saying difference in temperature, I can use the word change in temperature. Sorry guys, please correct it. Change in resistance divided by the initial resistance into change in temperature. Now you people tell me what is going to be the SI unit of it? It's a very simple question. Is it not Kelvin inverse?
Yes, sir.
Right? Similarly, what is going to be the CGS unit of it? It is degree Celsius inverse. Okay. Is it clear till this step?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now for us to understand, let's try out a problem. Let's try a problem from this particular concept. Temperature dependence of resistivity. Okay. This is a problem we can think of. Let me copy this. If you have textbook, you can have a look. If not, you can look at my screen. Okay. Copy. Okay, listen to this, okay? There is an electric toaster that uses nitrium wire for its heating element. Okay? When a negligibly small current passes through it, its resistance at room temperature is found to be 75.3 degrees Celsius. So, initial temperature that is given is 27 degrees Celsius and resistance is given as 75.3 ohm. When the toaster is connected to a 230 volt supply, this 230 volt, as of now have it in your mind, this is the AC supply, okay? This 230 volt is the one which comes at your home also. We know that in our house it is AC that is running. So when the toaster is connected to a 230 volt supply, the current settles after a few seconds to a steady value of 2.68 ampere. Current is equal to 2.68 ampere. If I'm not wrong, there is no use of it. Let's see. So what is the steady temperature of the nichrome element? So indirectly they are asking what is the final temperature. Yeah, I think the current is useful. Current is useful, sorry. So what is the steady temperature of the nichrome element? Second, the temperature coefficient of resistance of nichrome averaged over the temperature range is given as how much? 1.7 into 10 power minus 4 degrees Celsius inverse. Okay. So what is the question all about? Our job is to find what is the value of TF. But I could have done this easily had I known the value of RF. That is R final, but I don't know. So since you don't know, we can find something from the values that are given already. So what do you think is going to be the value of R final? R final is nothing but V divided by I. Because after you connect it to this 230 volt only, there is a steady state current. Steady state means there is a constant value of current of 2.68 ampere that is flowing. So it is 230 divided by 2.68. This is going to be the value of RF. Now apply the formula. RF is equal to Ri into 1 plus alpha into, instead of delta T, I am writing it as T final minus T initial. So what is RF? 230 divided by 2.68 is equal to R initial. It is 75.3 into 1 plus alpha is 1.7 into 10 power minus 4. Since this is in terms of degrees Celsius, you can leave this also in terms of degrees Celsius because you are finding the difference. So it is T final minus 27. Okay, dimensionally balanced equation. From this you can find what is the value of TF because you have one unknown and one equation. This part I am leaving it to you. Okay, copy it. Done?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's see another question. The next one is interesting. Okay. Mithun, yes, they will give the value. Alpha will be given in the question, or sometimes if the question is about alpha, then they will not give it. For example, here you see, have they given the value of alpha? No. Okay, let's see what to do. So the resistance of a platinum wire of a platinum resistance thermometer at ice point is 5 degrees Celsius. So what is the initial temperature?
5 ohms
0 degrees.
temperature.
So T initial is equal to 0 degrees Celsius. What is the initial resistance? It is 5 ohm. Now at steam point, that is at the final temperature is 100 degrees Celsius. Our final is 5.39 ohm. Okay, accepted. Then when the thermometer is inserted in a hot bath, the resistance of the platinum wire now is, when it is inserted in a hot bath, there is some particular temperature which we don't know, at which the resistance is 5.795 ohm. Now tell me logically, look at the values, okay? So platinum is a metal, right? So metal is a conductor. For a conductor, what does the theory say? Resistance will increase with temperature. So initially, what was the resistance? The wire had 5 ohm, then it became 5.39 at 100 degrees. Now it is 5.795. So the value of Tf dash that you obtain, how much should be the minimum value of that? Even before you solve, that is the way you think. You should get a value greater than
400.
100.
Suppose you solve and get the value less than 100, then you're wrong. Okay. These kind of mistakes also happen in the exam. But if you see in this question, what is not given?
Alpha.
Alpha is not.
But one thing we know is the temperature coefficient of resistance is constant for a given material. It is independent of length. Okay. So what I can do is I take these two values and write the definition of alpha. This problem I am solving it in a different way. So what is the definition of alpha? R final minus R initial divided by initial into delta T. So if I take the first two scenarios, R final is how much? 5.39 minus 5, the whole divided by 5 into 100. Okay. Similarly, using first and third scenario, what do I get? That is, alpha can be written as Rf dash minus Ri divided by Ri into delta T. What is Rf dash term? Is it not 5.795 minus 5, the whole divided by 5 into, this is where we get stuck, 5 into T final minus 0. Why I choose the first and the second is because T final minus 0 is going to be T final. Now my job is going to be very simple. So this first and second. So since LHS is same, equate the RHS. 1 is equal to 2 implies 0.39 divided by 500 is equal to 0.795 divided by 5 into TF. 5 will cancel this 100 times. 0.39 is equal to 79.5 divided by TF. So which implies TF is equal to 79.5 minus 0.39. How much ever you are going to get, those many degrees Celsius is the answer. And obviously your answer should be greater than 100. But look at the difference. No, initially at 0 degrees Celsius it was 5. When it reached 100 degrees Celsius it was 5.39. So it needed 100 degrees Celsius for its temperature to increase from, for its resistance to increase from 5 to 5.35. 35 or 39? 39.
I have a doubt.
Tell me.
Shouldn't it be 79.5 by 0.39?
Sorry. So this part you can calculate. That I'm leaving it to you, those many degrees Celsius. Okay. I hope it is clear. Right. So this is all about the temperature dependence of resistance and resistivity. Now, okay. Completed all these things. See, you need not memorize all these tables, these values, okay? That is, you need not memorize these values and all. They'll give it to you in the exam. Don't worry about it. You just need to know how to apply it. Okay. So, next I'll discuss about electrical energy and power. Okay. So next is electrical energy and power. Okay. So this is also a concept from your 10th standard. First, let me discuss things mathematically, then we can go to the understanding part. Listen. So how do you define power as? Basically, you would have learned about the mechanical power. So how is it defined as? It is defined as the rate of doing work. Or I can say it is the amount of work done. It is the amount of work done per unit time. Can I write it like this? Now comes an important question. Here, work is done by the battery to put the charges in the required motion. Okay, accepted. If that is the case, how can I write W as? Can I write W as Q into V? So power is equal to W into theta. So work done is equal to electrostatic potential energy. This is equal to Q into V, right? Using 2 in 1, what do we get? P is equal to Q into V divided by T. What is this Q by T? Is it not electric current multiplied with I? So the electrical power in a DC circuit is defined as the product of potential difference and current flowing. Are you able to understand this? So electrical power in a DC circuit is defined as the product of the potential difference and the current that is flowing through the conductor. Okay. Next, we know that according to Ohm's law, V is equal to what? IR. So let me say this is third, second. Third. So using 4 in 3, what are we going to get? Power will be equal to, in the place of V, I can write it as I. So, IR into I. That is going to give me I square R. Or power can also be written as V square divided by R. This is all about the electrical energy, electric power of a particular conductor. This is the amount of power that a conductor is going to consume when current is flowing through it. Okay. I hope you have completed writing it. Okay. So what they have done in your textbook is they have explained the detailed analysis of what exactly happens. Now let's see, you will be able to understand this better when you have a knowledge about cell, which is going to be the next topic that we are going to discuss. We are going to discuss an important term called as EMF, which is called as the electromotive force. Okay. So when I explain that, you will be able to relate it to better, because they are asking certain questions. See, where does the energy for the electric bulb come from? It is coming from some energy conversion. That is, the chemical energy is getting converted to the electrical energy, and that is what is providing the necessary energy for the bulb to glow. So it's all about energy conservation that they have given here. This part, if you read itself, you will be able to understand. Okay. Now, I'm going to discuss the concept which you guys already know. That is resistors in series and parallel. There's a known concept, right? So first we'll start with series. So when can you say the resistors are connected in series?
The current is same and all the resistors and the potential difference is divided.
When current flowing through all resistors is the same. Okay. So if I take a resistor R1 and another one R3, R1, R2 and R3, and I connect it across a DC source like this. If I connect it across a DC source in this way, then this DC source will start supplying the current I in such a way that the same amount of current is going to flow through all the three resistors. Okay, but what is going to be different? Here, the potential difference is going to be different. V1, V2 and V3. Okay, so this is going to be different in such a way that I can write V1 is equal to I into R1 according to Ohm's law. Similarly, V2 can be written as I into R2 and V3 is going to be I into R3, such that V is equal to V1 plus V2 plus V3. I hope it is clear till this step. Now, what am I supposed to draw for this? We need to draw a circuit called as an equivalent circuit. So, what do you mean by an equivalent circuit? You replace all the resistors with one particular resistor which is going to do the same job done by all these three resistors put together. Okay, when you replace them with a resistor called as RS, the power source is going to supply the same amount of current in both the scenarios. Then in this case I can write V is equal to I into RS. Okay, let me call this as 2 and let me call this as 1. So using 2 in 1, what are we going to get? Using 2 in 1, what are we going to get?
IR1 plus IR2 plus IR3.
I into RS is equal to I into R1 plus R2 plus R3. So I and I will get cancelled. From this I can say RS is equal to R1 plus R2 plus R3. As simple as that. Okay. The series resistance is equal to R1 plus R2 plus R3. That's it. Similarly, if you have n resistors in series, you will call it as R1 plus R2 plus so on till Rn. Correct? Similarly, when can you say the resistors are in parallel?
When current is being divided to each resistors.
Yes. Current is divided, but potential difference is same. So in our house, are we having parallel connection or series connection?
Parallel.
Right?
Different appliances need different current.
Different appliances need
Different
Different
potential
current.
to work.
different current. Okay, that is also one thing. Different appliances need different current. Is that the only thing?
So if we connect in series, then the current will be used up by the first appliance and then the second would get less.
Yes. So that can also happen, right?
So
Similarly,
if one appliance is damaged, all the appliances will be damaged.
so if one of the appliances is damaged, the others will also stop working. Right? So parallel means one advantage that you have is you are concerned more about the input rather than what is the output that is generated. So with respect to V and I, the input that you are giving is a potential and potential difference. So in our house, if you go and buy any equipment or any electrical equipment from the shop, there will be a power rating for that particular device. Okay, and it will say on how many volts it can be operated. So yeah. So when you do that, that particular device needs, for example, you have a tube light in your home. If you don't give exactly 220 volt between 220 to 230, there will be a fluctuation. That's a different story. If you don't give the value between 220 to 240 volt, then what will happen is you can observe some amount of dimness. Have you ever observed that suddenly the fan will become slow in your house? All of a sudden, with no reason. It is because they call it as low voltage. Have you ever heard about it?
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
would have
sir.
experienced it, right? Sometimes in the older days and all, the CRT monitors used to be there. Now we are using LEDs. No, you know, a CRT is cathode ray tube. The dabba will be there, no, at the back. Like you would have seen the computers in the olden days. A big box will come. That also will become dim. All these things will happen. Okay. So the input is what is very important. That is why we see all the devices are connected in parallel, so that all the devices are receiving the same amount of input. That is what is universally designed. Okay. So current is divided, but potential difference is going to be the same. Simple logic. So if I take the resistors like this, R1, R2, R3. Okay. So current supplied by the battery, if I call it as I, the current will get divided as I1, I2 and I3 such that I is equal to I1 plus I2 plus I3. Shariya? Now comes an important question. Here the potential difference is V, here also V, here also V. Right? So how is the equivalent circuit for this going to look like? I need to replace all the resistors with the resistance called as RP. Okay, where RP is the equivalent resistance for parallel. Then can the same amount of current will be supplied by the battery, then can I write I is equal to V divided by RP. So if I take and substitute it here, V divided by RP will be equal to, what is I1? V divided by R1, I2 is V divided by R2, I3 is V divided by R3. V will get cancelled. 1 by RP will be equal to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2 plus 1 by R3. Okay. So this is going to be the equivalent resistance for parallel connection. So now tell me one thing. By connecting the devices in parallel, is the equivalent resistance going to decrease or increase? What do I mean by decrease?
Resistance will decrease.
So what do I mean by decrease? Decrease the ohm. If I give you a 1 ohm, 2 ohm and a 3 ohm resistor in your hand and ask you to connect them in parallel, will its resistance
The total resistance will be less than the sum of those.
less than
The sum of all the three resistance.
it will be less than the least value of the resistances. So what was the least value out of 1, 2 and 3?
1.
Get a value less than 1. Okay, when you connect in series, you will get a value more than the greatest one. If suppose 1, 2, 3 are connected in series, your answer will be greater than 3. That is because you are adding them basically. 3 plus 2 plus 1, it is going to be 6. Whereas if you want, you can check and see. 1 by RP is equal to 1 by 1 plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3. How much is it? Multiply with 6. 6, 3, 2. 6 plus 3 plus 2. 11 divided by 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3. 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3 is 5 by 6. So 1 plus 5 by 6, or it is going to be 11 divided by 3, right only. So RP value will be equal to 6 divided by 11. Is it not less than 1? It's a decimal value, 0 point something, right? So whenever you connect the devices in parallel, okay, have this point in your mind. Whenever you connect the devices in parallel, whatever is the least value of the resistance in the combination, your final output should be lesser than the least value. If not, it is wrong. If you connect everything in series, the final output should be greater than the greatest value. Whereas you have another combination, other connection called as mixed combination. That is, some resistors can be in series, some will be in parallel. Then you will be getting some intermediate values. Okay. So I'm sharing all these things because it will help you to design your own circuits. You might have it in your mind at some point, you can design it, right? At that point, you will understand all these things. Okay, so this is anyways your 10th standard basic, and so I hope most of you would have seen the video also which I did using LED. If you got a chance, did you get a chance to see that resistors? I used an LED and I explained it. That breadboard and all, I'll show you later. Okay, you can actually see that there will be a drop in the intensity value because the voltage is getting divided. Voltage means potential difference. Whereas when you connect that LED in parallel, what will happen is the same voltage is going no. You can see that the LED will glow with the same intensity. That is a simple experiment. If you have watched it, it's fine. If not, you can just have a look at it later whenever you find time. Okay. So that's it from my side for today, guys. Any other doubt? Next class is going to be very, very important. Okay, I'm going to discuss an important concept called as electromotive force. You need to understand that, or else you cannot proceed. Okay, so I don't want anybody to miss it. Any other doubt, guys, from today's class?
No, sir.
All right, sir.
Good.
No, sir.
Okay. There is no doubt. We can wind up. Revise it before you come to the next class. Okay. See you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So